What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Rage Corner. Today we are going to be talking about the Chinese Grand Prix, which happened this morning, and it was a pretty good race. There's a lot to get through, so let's get straight down to it. So this year, the drivers have been told that they're going to be given less penalties, so the stewards are going to be less harsh. However, Ricciardo and Perez were late to the drivers' national anthem and got reprimanded for it. So kind of begs the question, what is going on there with the stewards? And they were late clearly for a reason, but they actually got reprimanded for it. Can you imagine if they got a grid drop for the next race for being late to an anthem? The start of the race, and everyone decided to go on intermediates apart from one man, Carlos Sainz, and we saw a replay of him spinning out of turn 2 going into turn 3, and we all thought maybe that was the end of his race because he actually clipped the wall as well with his rear tyre, and in fact still managed to end up at a pretty nice points paying position by the end of the race. Lance Stroll, where can we go with this guy? He's not had a particularly good start to his Formula 1 career, and it didn't get any better for the Chinese Grand Prix. It was the double left-hander, and Felipe Massa had sneaked up the inside, and for some reason he decided to turn in to the apex, not even thinking that there might be another driver there, and potentially thinking he might ghost like in Formula 1 games, but unfortunately not. Felipe Massa tagged him, and that was him out the race. So Stroll really struggling at the moment. A worthy mention has to go to Max Verstappen and his start to the race. He started in 17th, I think it was, and he made himself up to, I think it was after the pit stops, he was sitting in about 4th position. So the guy really did, we saw it, he said it was like a Formula 1 game, he said at the end of the race, that he felt like he was in a game, just passing people left, right and centre, and really showing the potential that he has as a young driver. You know, he's already a race winner, and Max Verstappen really kind of showing that he's so good at overtaking, and it does go wrong sometimes at Monaco. Last year or the year before, it went a little bit wrong and he crashed into the wall, and there will be times where he does get it wrong, but he is so exciting to watch. There were so many highlights during this race of just funny moments that happened, and I'm going to make sure we get through all of them, or at least most of them, in this video. And the first one that I have to talk about is Valtteri Bottas. What was he doing? I mean, under the safety car, everyone's weaving their tyres, and I remember seeing in the background, I think it was like a panning shot of the cars coming through, and just in the background you can see Bottas, who then just lights his rear tyres up and spins under the virtual safety car. You just see the car veer sideways, and the commentators didn't even pick it up. So I was sat there like, is anyone going to comment on the fact that he's just gone right when everyone else is going straight? But they eventually found out that Bottas had spun and didn't really make much of a deal about it, but it was under the safety car. What? He's not had a good start either. I mean, he had an okay Australia race, Bottas. He kind of was there or thereabouts against Lewis Hamilton, but today, really, he needs to start showing up, otherwise Mercedes are going to slap him with the number 2 driver. Verstappen made some pretty good moves, as we've already established during this race, and pretty nice around the outside of Raikkonen, and then also pulling the moves on Ricciardo when he was struggling, and then he just disappeared down the road. Obviously, later on in the race, Ricciardo was repaying the pressure towards Verstappen at the end of that race, but didn't get through, and Verstappen, I think, was rightly named driver of the day. So midway through the race, we had Ricciardo, Raikkonen and Vettel locked in battle, and I think that battle in particular really summed up what the new regulations are going to bring over the course of this season, where the fact is the DRS really wasn't working to get past Ricciardo, and at the same time they were still bunched together, and that's what I like to see. I don't like to see DRS passes just fly past and that's it, they're gone. Instead, they actually made to work and find other overtaking positions, like into turn 6 was obviously a very popular overtaking spot, and wow, I mean, honestly, a hand needs to be given to Vettel for that round the outside manoeuvre on Ricciardo. I mean, he braked probably about 20, 30 metres later than Ricciardo into turn 6, and then locked up a little bit, still managed to get the car slowed down. Then they were side by side coming out of that corner, touched wheels, you could see the smoke come up, and then eventually he got through. I mean, that was easily the overtake of the race. Fernando Alonso, he was running in 8th position in an absolute donkey of a car, if we're really honest. The car is just so slow in a straight line. It was embarrassing to see Valtteri Bottas, probably 10 car lengths away, still got DRS, and then passes Alonso before he's even got to the hairpin. Fair enough, it's 1.2 kilometres down that straight, but at the same time, he was just sat there like a sitting duck. And there was such a funny bit after the race where Alonso went on social media, and there was a tweet from Mercedes saying that Bottas is on fire, he's up to P7. I mean, you're in a Mercedes, mate, that's not really on fire. And then Alonso's quote tweeted it and just put loads of crying faces. Oh, it was absolutely amazing, because clearly he which he likes to say on the team radio. He can't do anything. He's fastest in the corners, he says, but obviously down the straight he's 10, 15 kilometres an hour slower than the other cars. And Alonso is great to listen to. I really hope he doesn't retire from the sport, but at the same time, him having a bad car is bringing his humorous side out. So it's kind of a little bit of a, do we want the car to get better? Because then there'll be less funny radio messages. But either way, he was in 8th position, and then the McLaren Honda decided to give up, just like with Stoffel van Dorn as well. A double retirement, McLaren in trouble. The championship is hotting up. We're only 2 rounds in, but they're even. Vettel and Hamilton, the 2 greats of the sport, which I have to agree with, although at the same time, there are other really good drivers in the sport, they just don't have the car to suit. But those 2, just fighting it out. I think it's going to happen. Well, I say I think, I hope it's going to happen, purely because the development race within this season is going to be astronomical. Like, the cars could change week in, week out, especially when upgrades come and the cars, start to develop even more. I'm pretty sure, there might be a team that starts to then pull away. Mercedes has got to be my bet for that. But at the same time, Ferrari at the moment can challenge Mercedes, which is great to see, especially in the first few laps when we saw, I think it was 2 Red Bulls, 2 Ferraris and Hamilton all in the same shot. I know it was probably 5, 6, 7 laps in, but to see them all within 3 seconds, I think it was really nice to see. We need to talk about Giovinazzi. Okay, he impressed in Australia. He did well. He didn't score points, but everyone was like, yes, this guy has got talent. He's got potential. And then the Chinese Grand Prix happened. Crashed in qualifying, crashed in the race. At Sauber, I think we'll be saying goodbye. Well, not goodbye, but we'll be taking away his seat for Wehrlein, or maybe just chucking Wehrlein in a gym for the next 7 days and going, get fit, because we cannot have this guy crashing our car every single day that he's in the car pretty much. And it's a weekend to forget for him. And I think the commentators mentioned, it wasn't really down to the car. It was more just the fact that he wasn't able to correct, he kind of light the rear tyres up on the curb. And it was the same corner. But this time he kind of ran wide, came back on the track onto a wet patch, lit the rear tyres up and into the wall. So maybe a learning curve for Giovinazzi. I still think he has got potential, but a lot to learn. A little bit like Lance Stroll, really. And those 2 are definitely in the wars. Kimi Raikkonen was pretty hilarious on the team radio as well, saying, what the hell is going on with my engine? I think it was coming out of certain corners. He wasn't getting as much power as he would have expected. And that's where Vettel, maybe he'll blame the car being the fact that Vettel got through and then just steamed away. But then if we compare it to Australia, Kimi Raikkonen also had issues there as well. So has he truly shown his potential for this season with the new regulations? I don't think so. I think Raikkonen really, in my opinion, should suit these regulations. But the team radio today really highlighting his frustrations at the moment. A couple of shout-outs. Kevin Magnussen scoring a few points in P8 for Haas. And they seem to be very happy on social media as well, congratulating him on the points. And I'm pretty sure he'll be quite happy with that as well. And also a double Force India points finish as well. As I said, we spoke to Ocon. Australia, he scored points. China, he scored points. He's on for the target that he set with WTF1 in that interview. And Force India, the car is really not to my liking. The more and more I see that pink car, the more and more I don't really like it that much. And I think people are quite split on that. It's definitely not the best looking car on the grid. I want to see that Toro Rosso a little bit further up on the grid, purely because it looks nice, but we don't get to see much camera time with it. And finally, to wrap this up, what a moment in the race when Mercedes have come over the radio to Valtteri Bottas and called him Nico. If you guys didn't see it, I think it was lap 43, 40, somewhere in the 40s. And Mercedes have come over the radio and said, Valtteri, and you could genuinely, it's as if Mercedes have not fully moved on from the relationship split between Nico and the team. Lewis Hamilton won the race. Was he really pushed? I think at the start, definitely. With the mixed conditions, that kind of brings out more driver skill, and that's where other cars can start to push towards the Mercedes. But at the same time, towards the end of the race, Vettel was catching him, but I think there was a lot of maybe engine conservation, tyre management as well, purely because he had such a gap. He could afford to let it go 5, 6 seconds, which is what he did. So Hamilton looking strong, but I think Bahrain, I really hope Ferrari are up there as well. That wraps up the Chinese Grand Prix Rage Corner for today. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Let us know in the comment section below your highlights of the race, maybe some things that you were impressed by, and also where you see the pecking order in Bahrain. I personally don't see it changing too much, but it'll be interesting either way. It's a week away. I'm so looking forward to it. I hope you guys are too. I'm Matt with WTF1. We're out of here. Just started the warm-up for our massive test session to be a Formula 1 driver. And 4 minutes of this, then we're going to do some stretches, and then the real stuff is going to happen. So this is the best I'm going to look, so take this in, because it's going to get worse from here on in.
Okay, so what we're going to do, put it on the floor,